What do you see when you imagine the future? When we picture what's to come, we often think of innovations that take us to new heights. Some of them are already here. And every day, thousands more make the jump from our imagination into reality. Nowhere is this more evident than here in Japan. Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies are fundamentally transforming the way we do things. All this is happening so fast, and we must do more than just keep up. These emerging technologies open up boundless possibilities of what our future could look like. Technology is not a simple solution to our problems. It poses questions that we need to answer and guidelines we need to write together. That's why we're all here, a global event hosted by Japan that brings together the world's leading voices across disciplines and geographies. How technology will shape our tomorrow depends on the choices we make today. And that starts now.
A very warm welcome to all of our viewers who are joining us from all across the world to the Global Technology Governance Summit 2021 here at the World Economic Forum. I'm Shiv Arur. I'm Executive Editor of India Today Television, and we have an excellent and very, very important, might I say, crucial topic up for discussion today. It's been an extremely tough year for the entire world, a situation that the world is still grappling with. But there are huge challenges ahead for this planet, and one of them is agriculture and the sustainability of food availability. And that's the reason why this particular topic is center stage today at the Global Technology Governance Summit 2021. The title is Transforming Agriculture. Well, the world needs to nourish nearly 10 billion people by 2050. There's not enough time. Things aren't moving as quickly as they probably should. But there are technologies available, and there are experts all around the world working with each other, working with governments, working with organizations to make sure that no further time is lost in putting the structures in place that will ensure food sustainability by transforming agriculture. Because let's face it, the way things are right now, current practices are neither nutritious nor are they sustainable, and we cannot allow them to reach a dangerous level from which there is no coming back. How can these four industrial revolution or 4IR technologies boost agricultural productivity and preserve planetary boundaries in a sustainable way, in a way that doesn't mean that technology overpowers what humans are actually trying to do for this extremely crucial mission? I'd like to welcome all of our excellent panelists on board today. We're very privileged to have a mix of experts who are all directly involved in this mission. These are people whose everyday work contains targets that actually matter to the transformation of agriculture. Their work, their days and their nights, I suspect, has everything to do with making sure this happens. And in many ways, like they will tell you, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them, failure is not an option. This is simply too big to fail in more ways than one. So thank you to all of you. I'd like to quickly introduce our amazing panel of experts, stakeholders, and panelists on this particular session. First of all, Jayesh Ranjan is Principal Secretary, Industries and Commerce with the government of Telangana in South India. It's India's youngest state, and there is a great deal happening in that state as well as the application of new technologies in food sustainability and agriculture is concerned. We're going to get an amazing first-hand perspective from an administration that's actually doing this. We also have with us Anil Chaudhary, who's a policy advisor for A2I to the government of Bangladesh, who since 2008 has been fronting this digital transformation for the government of Bangladesh. So we're going to get a neighborhood perspective on how this is happening in that country. Susanna Hasenerl is the Director Asia of Sustainability and Growth and Commercialization at Yara Asia, an organization, once again, that works with governments, works with farmer groups to ensure that this mission never really goes off the track. Pradeep Basu offers an extremely unique perspective. He's founder and chief executive officer of SatSure India. It's a decision analytics firm that's working in the space of food sustainability, agriculture, water, and is working directly with governments in helping put those technologies in place. So I'd like to thank all of you for being with us here in this amazing session. There's much to learn. We've got a lot of people tuning in and watching this live cast from around the world as well. In a short while, there will also be a special session where people can interact with all of our panelists much more closely. That's for our members and partners. But I'd like to throw this open first to Jayesh Ranjan, because he's in government in an Indian state, in Telangana. Mr. Ranjan, give us your perspective on how fourth industrial revolution technologies are being implemented. This is very much something that's in transition. There's something new happening every day. There are new ways of implementing the technologies that are, presenting themselves to you and your government. How can these emerging technologies lead to sustainable and resilient agricultural processes? Give us the Telangana perspectives.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shiv. Greetings to all the fellow panelists. Greeting to all the attendees. So, Shiv, before I answer you, I would also like to very quickly tell the viewers about what is the importance of agriculture in the state of Telangana. Telangana, as you rightly said, is a new state, got created 6 years ago. But one of the topmost priorities that we have accorded to one sector is to agriculture. In fact, you will be amazed to learn that 30% of the annual budget of the state is spent on agriculture related verticals, and obviously that has also shown very, very encouraging results. In fact, we have seen 16% real growth in crop sector GSDP in 2019-2020, and agriculture, by the way, has contributed to 15.5% to the state's GSDP in 2019. So rising growth, rising share of agriculture in the state's GSDP, and very impressive growth in this sector as well. 2020, as we know, has been a very depressing year all around, but the brightest spot for us in 2020 has been the agriculture sector. And given the fact that 30% of our budgets are spent on this sector, our target now is to ensure that every stakeholder in the agriculture sector actually profits, actually benefits from this. And we have felt that application of technology is a sure short way of providing that universal benefit. So we have been very fortunate to partner with the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution. It is a WEF subsidiary which is located in India, and they have chosen to partner with Telangana government in taking up a number of agriculture initiatives. So the programs that we have launched, again, as I said, in 2020 are very comprehensive. We have utilized amazing technologies using predictive artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms. We have utilized disparate data inputs from technologies like satellites, IoT, drones. On-field ground truthing is also happening with the help of emerging technologies. So using a range of this whole basket of technologies that we call emerging technologies, we have been able to clear 25 use cases. And many of them, of these 25, have actually been implemented. So these span the entire spectrum of agriculture value chain. So starting from intelligent crop planning and sowing, to smart farming, to what we call farm gate to fork, and finally creating a data marketplace, so that the kind of data which is required to run these technologies, all that is also validated and authenticated and put at one place. So our belief is that technology has enough number of solutions to provide very good outputs and outcomes in every part of the value chain, right from how do you prepare your fields to how do you get your inputs, then of course various aspects of cropping. Pest management is a very important component of cropping, and then subsequently, once you are ready to harvest and store and market, every aspect of this value chain can be aided. And as you will recall, Shiv, the national government and multiple state governments have been speaking about doubling the farmer's income. That this has been an important national priority, not just now, but I guess for the last 15 years or so. And we are very optimistic in Telangana that we can make it happen, because we have been able to understand, we have been able to figure out which precise technology application is required in which part of the value chain. And as I said, the 25 use cases, the 25 pilots that we have launched, and as I also mentioned, all these pilots have been launched in a very participatory way. So it is not that the government alone is leading this. In fact, you will be amazed to know this, that we have 60 plus partners, which includes other line departments of the government, including the agriculture department, the water resources, water management department. Yeah. The agriculture university plays a very important role, because they have got the extension machinery to reach out to the farmers. But there are lots of technology providers and aggregators like C4IR, who are able to help us in putting together a governance framework of data marketplace, etc. So the initial results are very, very encouraging. And as I said, if we have to really make tangible progress towards doubling farmers' income, this seems to be the only way forward.
Doubling farmers' income is part of the big national target as far as India is concerned. And with that perspective, Mr. Ranjan, from the Telangana government, I want to expand this just a little bit, because financial sustainability is going to be one of the key issues as we go forward. These are technologies that are moving at a very, very fast level. You've given us a perspective into how many of these technologies are already being implemented by the Telangana government, which is fascinating. Anir Chaudhary of the Bangladesh government, who's been advising and fronting the government's digital transformation there. Anir, if you could throw some light on the profitability and financial sustainability issue, because that is going to be key in making sure that the implementation of these technologies can happen for the long term and doesn't simply burn out. So financial sustenance for farmers while harnessing the maximum potential of these technologies. Can you throw some perspective on that, Anir?
Thank you very much, Shiv. Mr. Ranjan has set the stage for our discussion today. In Bangladesh, since 2008, we have been pursuing a dream called Digital Bangladesh, which is the incorporation of technology in everything that we do. So setting up a knowledge economy. So in the last 13 years, a lot has happened in incorporating technology in every aspect of our public and private work. So all ministries have now incorporated technology in their work. So 2041 is a watershed year for us, and next 20 years, where we are now incorporating 4IR technologies. So far we've been mostly looking at software, but in the next 20 years, I think it's a progress towards incorporating other types of technologies that 4IR brings. So what we are seeing now in the agriculture sector is an unprecedented set of actors. The usual suspects, such as the farmers, farmer cooperatives, input suppliers, market linkage companies, extension workers, policymakers, research labs, agriculture universities, banks and lenders. And we are also seeing a new set of actors, such as the software companies, hardware companies for IoT devices and drones, data companies such as telcos, satellite companies, and many others. So let me talk from the perspective of developing countries like Bangladesh. So agriculture accounts for 14% of Bangladesh's GDP, and about 41% of the total workforce is actually employed in agriculture-related work. But they comprise mostly of marginal producers who work on their own initiative or on small plots of land. So agriculture has yet to become an industry, which basically means low productivity and high cultivation costs. So these are things that we have to keep in mind as we're thinking about sustainability. Due to a lack of knowledge and information, farmers cultivate based on their own ideas about observing soil and weather forecasts. On top of that, people involved in agriculture are less educated, many illiterate, and they don't have the capacity to understand modern data-driven agriculture. So you have to overcome those barriers as well. The three important gaps that we see now: access to market intelligence, access to finance, and access to the specific weather, soil, and input type of information. So these gap filling actually creates the possibility for new services and contributes to the financial sustainability of the 4IR initiatives that Mr. Ranjan talked about. 75% of the farmers are smallholders and unbanked. So access to finance is very costly for them. So peer-to-peer lending platforms and crowdfunding platforms can offer low cost of financing opportunities. Now, let me give you an example of an iFarmer. It's a new startup that is working to facilitate funding for agriculture households. It connects farmers, funders, financial institutions, and IoT and cloud-based solutions. iFarmer uses alternative data and a proprietary credit scoring algorithm to identify the viability of the customers as borrowers. It offers IoT-based solutions for advanced farming. Fitbit for cattle and intelligent soil sensors are two of their most popular solutions. So far, the platform has generated over 28 million taka for its investors by connecting them to over 5,000 farming households. And this has happened in the last 1.5 years. Cutting-edge technology like blockchain can create a digital and verified identity of the farmers, along with their credit and transactional history in a distributed network and accessible by relevant actors such as banks and insurance companies. So a lot of new services will come up and a lot of untapped financial opportunities for old and new actors and farmers. So let me end with 3 stages of financial sustainability that I see in developing nations like Bangladesh and India. The first stage has to be funded by the government, large input suppliers, and large data and tech companies such as telcos through creative public-private partnership. The second stage will bring in thousands of farmer cooperatives who will start paying for these new services. And then we'll see an emergence of the third stage, which will bring in millions of individual farmers who will start understanding the value of these services. Many of these services will become microservices, which will be within the affordability of the individual farmers. But what we need to focus on right now, as Mr. Ranjan rightly pointed out, is a lot of experimentation, focusing on pilots and public-private partnership. From the cabinet, we actually issued an order in January of this year that all ministries will have to incorporate 4IR technologies in their work and start doing piloting. So we just had, interestingly, a workshop with all the agriculture actors. We have 3 ministries that are involved in agriculture: Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, and Ministry of Food. So they came together in a workshop. They identified a few pilots which are going to be launched in the next few months. So we are very hopeful. I think Telangana is doing some seminal work and we'll be learning from them. But we can also probably offer some insights as we work on our own set of financial sustainability. Thank you, Shiv.
Very interesting, and I love those examples, especially Anir. It's interesting to see that that all ministries in Bangladesh have to implement, fourth industrial revolution technologies, and I'm assuming that involves, a periodical action taken report kind of review system that ensures this is actually happening. And is not just on paper. Very interesting. The Fitbit on cattle. There are startups here in India that are doing the same thing. So great examples of some of the micro technologies that could have very, very far-reaching effects as far as sustainability and productivity is concerned. Let's never forget that this is, after all, about the environment, and that's where Susanna Hasenhurl comes in. She's been working with Yara Asia directly with stakeholders. On the issue of environment. I love that background behind you, Susanna, because that really is what this is all about, a collaborative world where hunger can be eradicated in a financially sustainable and productive way. So the question really is now about the environment. This is something that you've been working with very closely, Susanna. All of these innovative solutions that are, raining down on the problems we have in the transformation of agriculture. How can these solutions be supported to not only improve the smallholder farmer's income, but, like the question goes, to provide positive environmental and nutrition benefits? Because the mission here is not just about food sustenance. We've got to keep the environment firmly in view at all times.
Absolutely. And today we see a strongly increasing demand for solutions that reduce carbon intensity. And farmers are actually uniquely positioned to profit from that financially, and also in terms of improving the nutritional qualities of their produce. But let me explain you a little bit in a more detailed manner how this can work. Yara is actually launching a new business unit, Agoro Carbon Alliance, with the purpose to empower farmers to generate and sell carbon credits, as well as crops that are certified with a lower carbon footprint. Now, what does it take for this to happen? in many cases, farmers do need to modify their practices to become more climate smart. But also, we need to connect the farmers to the global carbon market. And this is what Agora Carbon Alliance is about. The challenge is, of course, that in many cases, especially in the smallholder context, a financial incentive alone may not be enough to motivate or to empower farmers to make the changes that are necessary. We have to empower them with knowledge. But how does one do that in the context of hundreds of millions of smallholder farmers? To create significant impact, we need to get a lot of them on board. It's close to impossible to reach them physically. So that's why, since quite some time, Yara has invested a lot into digital solutions, launching a number of digital tools and apps, also for the smallholder farmers of this world. To give you an example, in India, Yara Farm Care and Yara Farm Weather apps are used by millions of farmers, and this helps them to achieve a better level of knowledge and to farm in a more sustainable and climate smart manner. In East Africa, as part of Yara's Action Africa program, within the span of just a couple of months, we engaged digitally with more than 1 million farmers. And for those most in need, we gave a fertilizer donation. And this is with farmers without smartphones, yet digitally connected. So we know that it's possible by using digital technologies to empower farmers to become more productive and more sustainable. But even with Yara's global presence, as well as 115 years of agronomic knowledge and innovation, we know we cannot do this by ourselves. The challenge is simply beyond us. We need collaboration, we need partnerships. And with this, we are calling on investors to come and join Agora Carbon Alliance to fund its massive and rapid expansion. We're in the lookout for technology partners to enable verification at scale and at low cost. And we're also reaching out to policymakers and other stakeholders to create a conducive environment for farmers to adopt climate smart practices that will also increase their profitability as well as the nutritional qualities of their crops.
Thank you, Susanna. That was very interesting, and thanks for sharing with us, the Agora Carbon Alliance. Interesting because not only is it conceptually invigorating, the implementation of it, and like you said, if companies actually come forward, investors come forward and become part of it, in there lies the real strength of a great idea like that, as far as environmental sustainability is concerned. So. Congratulations on that. I hope to see that take off. Now I want to come to the cutting edge of the technologies. We've heard from two stakeholders, from two separate governments who are implementing these fourth industrial revolution technologies. Pradeep Basu, who I introduced to you earlier, is the CEO of SatSure, which is a technology and decision analytics firm, which is dealing directly with governments, across India and across the world, really, in taking these decisions as far as technology intervention for greater sustainability is concerned. Pradeep, we're very, very interested in knowing about these technologies, whether it is artificial intelligence, which is, a phrase that's used a lot, but in your sphere of things, this is real. Predictive technologies, artificial intelligence, the ability to make very, very critical wafer-thin choices that make all the difference in the world as far as crop cycles and availability are concerned. Tell us a little bit. Take us in detail, as much detail as you possibly can, Pradeep, into some of these technologies that are already being implemented.
Thank you, Shiv. And it would be my pleasure to explain some of the case studies on how we have been engaging with governments and what it means from the perspective of digital inclusion. So let me first explain that what digital inclusion to a company like us means. It's a combination of access, adoption, and application of digital technologies. At a personal level, when my house help asked for her salary through a mobile wallet, and this was like only 5 or 6 years back, I was very convinced, and this was when I was back to India, that we as a country have taken huge strides in terms of creating or enabling infrastructure for information and communication technologies. However, the aspect of adoption on digital inclusion is where I think most of our work at SatSure has relied on, where we are working with different stakeholders, governments, financial institutions, etc. So let me give an example of the World Economic Forum in the state of Telangana. So basis underlying assumption for us to always work is that digital inclusion is a very subjective topic. It's subjective to region, technology, and user, and it's very user specific. So we were working with the intent of creating predictive tools that farmers can use. So the needs of the farmers were initially like understood. Who are growing cereal crops, their requirements are different because they don't need too much of value addition or post-harvest handling, low marketing, and the need for information, the frequency at which it required is much lower than those who are growing cash crops or horticulture crops. So each and every part of the crop cycle was first divided. I'm not even got into technology. We are just like describing how the entire adoption and application of the emerging technologies like AI, space technology, IoT comes into picture. So who is the user? At what frequency it can be provided? How do you assess the accuracy of these insights? Because if there is no value that the farmer is able to derive, he will not use it. So we will fail on the third aspect of digital inclusion, which is the adoption part. So while we had worked a lot with central governments and different states on using satellite imagery and high frequency satellite imagery along with artificial intelligence to identify what crop is growing even within an acre of farm, and doing this at scale for entire state level, at an entire state level, the process of co-creation with universities, with the forum, with the state was to establish what works, what outcome of AI applied on such an IoT technology works for what kind of farmers. That contextualization is a very, very important aspect. We do not need to give frequent weather forecasts to cereal growing farmers, whereas we do need to give that to maybe growers of grapes, growers of coffee, and understanding the validity of such insights, meaning one can't be saying that it's a model and it's going to be 80% times accurate. The 20% time it's inaccurate, the impact of that 20% on perhaps millions of farmers is it's something that it's not a technology problem. It becomes a complete process or framework problem of how you disseminate this. So an example of how now post the establishment of this framework of the impact, the creation and impact of such kind of analytical tools on yield prediction, on area identification, on health monitoring, to provide advisories on pests, not during the day when the pest has come, but 7 days before, by analyzing patterns of weather, soil moisture, by analyzing the cropping patterns. All of these elements have to come together to create the larger aspect of services to farmers, and that is where the last mile connectivity on the digital inclusion programs happen, and that is what we are today doing by bringing in insurance firms, financing firms, where working with the Telangana government, there is a single digital infrastructure that's been created where you can identify the land, you can identify the cropping patterns, you know the weather patterns there, and you have a mobile number and a bank account linked with the farmer's ID, which helps to then create services, automated services around insurance claim settlement, etc., to make completely change the experience of technology with farmers. So yeah, I will take a pause here. I think it's the future of what the work that we have done in the past few years with several governments is setting the platform for what is going to happen in the next few years.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. That was also extremely interesting, a unique perspective from someone who's actually enabling these technologies and offering them to the people who are going to use them and benefit from them. Huge, huge perspective. We'd love to hear more as well, but we're out of time on the public section of this summit. It's been extremely enriching for all of those who are concerned. The next bit of our session of this summit interaction is going to be for our members and partners who get some exclusive time with these experts to interact with them in breakout rooms. But before we go to that, we also have the head of the World Economic Forum Center for IR, Purushottam Kaushik, with us. Purushottam, it's been extremely enriching, and the unique thing about today's discussion has been all of the people who've just spoken are people who've got not just their fingers, but their hands, their entire existence is in the implementation of these technologies. It's not just their careers, but their lives, that is completely immersed in the implementation of 4IR. Incredible.
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you so much for leading such an exciting discussions, and thank you to all the panelists as well. And we had like an amazing project on agriculture in the last 5.5, 6 months, anchored in state of Telangana, but supported by central government as well, Ministry of Agriculture, NITI, and Ministry of Electronics, and more with 60 plus partners that we have been working with us. So it has been an exciting journey so far. And as we move towards the next phase of our project, moving to pilots, which Jayesh mentioned about those 25 plus use cases, it's going to be further more exciting. And it's amazing to have maybe possibly the convergence of financial sustainability and environment now coming together. Like when we started, we saw that the financial sustainability is going to be maybe the core. But then as we saw environment being another big pillar, but now what Susanna also mentioned, that finally they can converge together. That's the whole goal, that we work together as a multi-stakeholder partnership and make this particular domain a really an exciting, successful one. So we can possibly move to the next section, but thank you so much to all the panel speakers and all the speakers and all the participants here, and also to the participants who are joined through the live link as well. Thank you, Shiv. Back to you.
It's been an incredible live cast. We've had people from all across the world who've been tuning in, but that brings us to an end of the live cast session. We're moving very quickly over to the next session, the next half of this interaction, where it's exclusive to forum members and partners, our top link viewers and participants. I'd like to invite you to stay on for this very, very unique opportunity where we are giving you a chance to have an informal discussion, exchange views, have more specific follow-up questions on the things that have just been said, to engage with our panelists on the topics that they've actually spoken of at this time. So we're going to have a couple of breakout rooms. I'm going to invite all participants to check if they've got their cameras and mics.
Recording stopped.
And I'm going to provide you with an overview of the session at this point in time. So very quickly, I'm going to introduce the breakout discussions and assignments to all of our guest panelists. Each group will be designated one facilitator to guide the discussion and to potentially report back to the full group. So we are here now in this full group. There will be breakout groups now where each of our panelists will engage with our members and partners to achieve, perhaps, if possible, if time permits, a predefined outcome. Building connections between participants around the topic areas, of course, the main focus of these breakout groups, and also providing you know, a little extra for our members and partners. Deeper engagement really is the purpose at this point of time.